advisement. You know, sometimes city government may not move as swiftly as we'd like it to, and maybe there's a good reason why it shouldn't, and we can work on those specific issues. So we plan to discuss this item at a future workshop on December the 1st, so we can give it more time and consider more of the in-depth details, and I'll offer any comments that council may have on it.
Mr. Bement wanted to speak to an action item.
Right. Let's see. Owen Bement. Didn't mean to overlook you there. Used to stay in town more often.
Thank you.
I want to begin by thanking the mayor for the time to address both the city council and your legal counsel. I know something about trees. My yard has been on the Fort Bend County Master Gardener home tour, where it's described in the brochures as a tranquil park-like setting, and is also recognized by the National Wildlife Federation as a certified wildlife habitat. But ladies and gentlemen, the draft of Ordinance 2015-1200 that I obtained with a formal request yesterday from the city secretary, thank you, Dee, is a bad ordinance for the city of Fulshear. In addition to being poorly written, you mentioned in the title of providing for a penalty, but the amount of the fine, see section 14, is not defined. I've never seen an ordinance passed that carries a fine for non-compliance without the amount of the fine being specified. Will you have another meeting at a later date after you pass the ordinance to set the fine, or will it be a number drawn out of a hat? Section 7 is written, prohibits me from removing an old, non-bearing fig tree I planted in my yard without first getting permission from the city of Fulshear Forester. That's figure 1. And is written, I cannot remove a crepe myrtle from a circle bed on my east patio without a permit should I decide to change my landscape design. That's figure 2. And is written, section 12, item 4, Decker's Restaurant, perhaps one of the most popular places to eat in Fulshear, will lose about 20% of their present parking area due to the restriction on parking of vehicles within the tree drip line, figure 3. The number 20% is my back of the envelope estimate based on the tree canopy area of the parking lot. So I ask, who gets the ticket? The owner of the car or the owner of Decker's? Look at section 14 in the penalty. This is a bird nest on the ground for the city of Fulshear. If you set the fine at something like $100 per infraction, each occurrence, a separate offense each day, your terminology, I estimate that you make about $2,000 a day between lunch and dinner. If Decker's is open 364 days a year, that would give the city of Fulshear an additional income of $735,000. What's not to like about that? With that type of income from the tree ordinance, maybe you can lower our property taxes. And have any of you that are responsible for drafting and presently support this ordinance driven, biked, or walked through Old Town Fulshear to see the potential impact of section 12 that addresses parking within the drip line of a tree on a pervious surface? During a slow drive through Old Town Fulshear, I saw at least 5 vehicles parked under trees and within the defined tree drip line. I also saw homes that had only gravel drives with a car parked in the defined driveway, but within the tree drip line. Will these homeowners or renters be in violation of your ordinance? I leave that determination to the lawyers, and I know something about lawyers. But at a fine of something like $100 per violation per day, and you want to find sufficient to change the behavior that you believe needs to be changed, that would be another $3,600 to the city of Fulshear.
We're out of 3 minutes.
Did it? Okay, then you'll have to read the rest of my comments.
Yes. That's a quick. We appreciate you providing your full comments, and I hope that council will take those under advisement, because I'm sure they will.
Mayor, may I say something about this?
Let me make sure I didn't forget.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
I punched the wrong button.
What was answer was I supposed to give, Brady? Does Siri know? Yes,
Thank you.
Councilmember.
I have heard from a number of residents, and I really want to thank you for reaching out to your council members to discuss this. There were several copies, iterations of this ordinance that went around, social media and email that were sent to the council member, myself. So I'd like to share with you that intent of the tree preservation ordinance we are currently working on is not to harm or impact single-family residents and homestead owners. It is to govern and remediate number of trees destroyed through development and redevelopment. We're currently researching other cities with similar ordinances and getting input from citizens and other stakeholders, such as schools, HOAs, and other stakeholders involved. So we can bring you an ordinance to grow to love. In addition, the city of Fulshear is considering joining others leading Texas cities such as Frisco, McKinney, South Lake, West University Place, Sugar Land, Missouri City, Dripping Springs, to become a scenic city certified city. So those other cities I just mentioned have a iteration of a tree preservation ordinance. So we are working on all of that, and I hope that I have alleviated some of the concerns with the statement. So we want to bring you the ordinance that you're gonna support and you're gonna like. Thank you.
Mayor, I would just ask that on the specific action item D on the tree ordinance, that any iteration that we do present to workshop and ultimately on a council agenda to be voted upon, be provided to the public. I know that that was a big, a lot of people just felt like this is on the agenda, and I know Ms. D got several requests from residents asking for copies of it, but if that could be made available on our website so that the residents have what it is, the working draft that we're working on, I think that would go a long way to bringing a lot of transparency to this issue.
Yeah, CJ and I discussed that before the meeting, and the idea would be that at our December 1st workshop, if we get a consensus on the ordinance, we'll have it modified, run it through Grady's office, make sure we've got everything cleaned up, and then we'll post that to the website for everyone's perusal. I think that's a great idea.
Well, and I'd like to say too, the intent of this ordinance was, we talk about keeping the character and the charm, and we keep trying to keep the character and the charm, and the old trees are a big part of the character and the charm. It's not to affect, if you want to build a swimming pool in your backyard, it affects the look of the city. And we've seen a whole lot of trees, we've seen our ground scraped, and it will continue to happen until we do something to stop it.
Okay. Any further comments? All right, thank y'all for your input. And thank the public, appreciate your input. So if you have any further comments, just send those our way. Item 8E,